January 26, 2018, the Wall Street Journal published an investigation into Steve Wynn. Allegations of misconduct spanning decades. A $7.5 million settlement buried under NDA since 2005. By close of trading, Wynn Resorts had lost 10% of its value, $3.3 billion, gone. The Republican National Committee returned every dollar of his donations. 26 days later, the architect of a casino empire built on secrets and spectacle resigned and sold his entire stake. But the real question was not what finally surfaced. It was who had known all along. Phones rang non-stop inside Wynn Resorts headquarters. The board scrambled. Directors patched into emergency calls from home offices and airport lounges. No one slept. A Form 8K landed with the SEC before dawn, stamped with the words, "Material Adverse Event." The company's chief compliance officer, John S. Miller, was gone by the end of the day. His resignation was announced in a single paragraph, with no reason given. The board's internal log shows 3 conference calls in the first 24 hours, each one more urgent than the last. At 7:13 a.m., the legal team flagged the Wall Street Journal's 31 interview claim. By 9 a.m., directors demanded a full audit of every settlement, every NDA, every scrap of paper that could tie the company to the allegations. By noon, outside counsel was on retainer. Board members debated whether to freeze Steve Wynn's access to internal communications. Compliance staff were told to preserve all emails and phone logs. The mood was frantic. No one trusted the next headline or the person beside them. At 3:47 p.m., the board authorized hiring Luis Rodriguez, a former IRS agent, to conduct an independent investigation. Rodriguez was given full access to the company's records and a mandate to report directly to the board, not management. Directors' cell phones buzzed with texts from regulators. The Nevada Gaming Control Board wanted answers. The Massachusetts Gaming Commission demanded a meeting. Every minute, another leak threatened to break. The compliance department, already gutted by Miller's exit, struggled to keep pace with subpoenas and interview requests. Board members whispered about who knew what and when. The first cracks in the empire were not public yet, but inside those calls, panic was the only constant. As Rodriguez began his audit, directors faced a decision: protect the brand or protect themselves. The clock was ticking. Who would talk first? And who, if anyone, would be left standing when the next wave hit? 12 days after the Wall Street Journal story detonated inside Wynn Resorts, a new SEC filing hit the wire. Steve Wynn's signature appeared at the bottom of a Form 8K amendment. But this time it was not about damage control. It was the start of an exit. The document outlined a $250 million insider sale. Wynn's personal stake transferred to a private equity vehicle under a contract negotiated in the shadows as the board's crisis calls multiplied. No press release, just a line item buried in the filing confirming the deal's completion that same day. The sale price was fixed before the market collapse, locking in a value that vanished for everyone else. The severance terms followed on day 26. Wynn's formal resignation, filed with the SEC, cited personal reasons. The amended 8K spelled out the numbers: an executive payout, accelerated vesting of shares, and a clause waiving future claims. The board, minutes later, subpoenaed by regulators, showed the directors had signed off under legal advice, fearing a protracted fight would trigger a licensing review in both Nevada and Massachusetts. Wynn's departure was total. No consulting agreement, no honorary title, no hand on the tiller. The buyers behind the $250 million stake kept their names shielded, using LLCs and nominee accounts. The sale contract, later excerpted in regulatory filings, required explicit approval from gaming authorities. Compliance staff flagged the transaction for heightened scrutiny, but the board pushed it through, citing urgency and the need to draw a line under the crisis. By the time the final resignation paperwork cleared, Wynn's name disappeared from internal directories and external filings alike. The empire he built was now in the hands of lawyers, auditors, and a nervous interim CEO. But the real cost was not just the $250 million stake or the severance check. It was the sudden vacuum at the top, an open question about who, if anyone, could keep regulators at bay. The countdown reached 0, but the danger for Wynn Resorts was only beginning. Who would fill the void, and what secrets would surface when the dust settled? Steve Wynn's first lesson in risk didn't come from a casino floor. It started at his family's kitchen table in Maryland, where debt collectors called, and his father, Michael Wynn, watched a bingo parlor slip through his fingers. The numbers never worked in their favor. By the time Steve turned 21, his father was gone, and the family business was drowning in IOUs. Wynn inherited not a fortune, but a warning. In this world, the house always wins, unless you control the house. He left the East Coast in 1967, 25 years old, carrying more pressure than cash. Las Vegas was a city still run by whispers, handshake deals, and men who never wrote anything down. Wynn landed a job at the Frontier, but not in a corner office. He worked the pit, counted chips in the back, and watched how money moved from the cage to the count room. 3% equity, barely enough to matter, gave him just enough leverage to learn who really pulled the strings. Payroll rosters from the time list him as a floor manager, but the real education came after hours. He learned how to spot a cheat, how to read a marker, and how to turn a losing night into a winning quarter. Family records show that the debts back home never truly disappeared. Wynn called his mother every week, sending checks when he could. The memory of that pressure, watching everything slip away, became his engine. In a city built on risk, he was learning how to make risk work for him. But every lesson came with a price. What would he be willing to gamble next? And how far would he go to make sure he never lost control again? The Golden Nugget was a fading relic when Steve Wynn took control. He didn't just swap out carpets and add a new sign. He ripped out the old bones and poured millions into marble, gold trim, and crystal chandeliers. Capital expenditure sheets from the late 1970s tell the story. Every dollar tracked, every upgrade logged, every room reimagined for high rollers who expected more than just a slot machine and a free drink. Wynn's obsession with detail paid off. The Golden Nugget earned the first Forbes Travel Guide star ever awarded to a casino hotel. That single star changed the game. The Nugget became a magnet for money, and Wynn's reputation as a visionary began to spread. But ambition has a price. The next move required more than just a vision. It needed cash, and lots of it. To build the Mirage, Wynn turned to a new breed of Wall Street banker, the junk bond kingpins. Michael Milken's Drexel Burnham Lambert underwrote $630 million in high-yield debt at 13.25% interest. The bond prospectus spelled it out. The Mirage would have to pull in $1 million a day just to stay solvent. Skeptics called it financial suicide. Wynn called it the future. Opening night, May 22nd, 1989. The Mirage took in $1.2 million before midnight. Nevada's tax receipts confirmed it. It was the biggest opening night win in state history. The stakes had never been higher, and the risk had never been greater. Wynn's playbook was working, but now the numbers were bigger, the pressure sharper, and the secrets deeper. What would it take to keep the machine running, and who was really holding the cards? In 2005, a manicurist at Wynn, Las Vegas filed a complaint that never made headlines. The story was buried behind closed doors. Court records confirm a settlement for $7.5 million, one of the largest known payouts for a single employee dispute in Nevada casino history. The agreement came with a price. An ironclad non-disclosure clause drafted by Wynn's legal team threatened liquidated damages if the former employee spoke about the allegations or the payout. The language was sweeping, extending not just to the incident, but to any discussion of Wynn's conduct, the company's internal response, or even the existence of the settlement itself. Human resources policy memos from that era show a pattern. Employees who raised sensitive complaints were offered settlements only after signing away their right to speak to the media, to regulators, even to other staff. Confidentiality was enforced with precision, and the threat of financial ruin for breach was explicit, spelled out in black and white. That $7.5 million was not just hush money, it was a firewall, protecting the brand from scandal and keeping the company's public image spotless. Inside the company, the message was clear. Silence had value. The manicurist's name disappeared from staff lists. No public apology, no admission of wrongdoing. The cost of speaking out was too high, and the machinery of secrecy kept turning. What else had been locked away behind those clauses? And who else had been paid to keep quiet? Political money flowed out of Wynn Resorts as fast as it came in. Within 48 hours of the Wall Street Journal's expose, the Republican National Committee wired back $1.2 million in donations. No explanation, just a terse press release citing compliance concerns. Campaign records show the refund cleared before most staff even knew the scandal had reached Washington. The money trail did not stop there. Internal logs from the Nevada Gaming Control Board flagged a series of large bundled contributions routed through shell companies tied to Wynn's earliest investors. Some of these names surfaced in old suitability reviews, men with ties to the old Vegas, where background checks meant little and cash meant everything. Official minutes from a 1984 licensing meeting reference outside Capitol with organized crime adjacency, but the subject vanished from the record after a closed-door session. The paper trail stops cold, replaced by redacted memos and missing pages. When the board filed complaint NGC 1903 in 2018, the text pointed to a pattern: donations moving in and out of political coffers, investors shielded by nominee accounts, and a culture of plausible deniability. No one in the room said the words, but everyone understood the risk. The company's own filings admit to material relationships that regulators found concerning, yet no direct sanctions ever followed, just more scrutiny, more sealed files, and a growing sense that the empire was built on more than marble and gold leaf. Beneath the luxury, a network of favors, repayments, and silent partners kept the walls standing. What would happen if one of those names finally made it out of the redacted columns and into the public eye? Bellagio's grand opening rewrote the rules for what a casino could be. Marble floors, hand-blown glass, and, at the heart of it all, a gallery lined with Picassos, Renoir, and Cézanne. Art wasn't just decoration here. It was a shield, a statement, and a lure for the world's wealthiest. Internal launch memos detail how Bellagio's fine art collection was positioned as a public museum, but every acquisition flowed through private channels, curated by a handful of trusted insiders. The centerpiece, Picasso's Le Rêve. In October 2015, the painting changed hands for $139 million. The sale contract finalized behind closed doors. The deal included a condition report, minor but fully restored damage. What the paperwork didn't say, what only a few in the room knew, was how the damage happened. Months earlier, during a private viewing, Wynn's elbow caught the canvas. Witnesses watched in silence as the world's most expensive painting tore along its edge. Lloyd's of London refused the insurance claim. The painting was patched, the sale went through, and the story vanished into sealed records. Whispers circled about Wynn's eyesight. Reports suggested a diagnosis, retinitis pigmentosa, a degenerative eye disease, but no medical affidavit, no sworn deposition ever surfaced. The official files stayed silent, even as rumors spread through boardrooms and auction houses. Wynn's vision blurred, but his grip on image, on spectacle, never wavered. Art became both armor and distraction, a gallery of masterpieces masking the cracks beneath the marble. Who else knew what really happened that night, and what other secrets were hiding behind those gilded frames? A single court order locked away the most explosive evidence. In July 2018, the Nevada Gaming Control Board filed Order 18567B, sealing its entire investigation into Wynn Resorts. 10 years, no transcripts, no witness names, no Rodriguez report. Not for the press, not for shareholders, not even for rival casinos. The public notice cited privacy and ongoing litigation, but inside the sealed envelope were the interviews, emails, and internal logs that could unravel the company's story for good. Regulators did not stop at secrecy. In 2019, the board hit Wynn Resorts with a $20 million fine, the largest ever imposed in Nevada gaming history. The official breakdown listed licensing failures, undisclosed settlements, and violations of state law, and it spanned 23 pages. Hidden in the fine print was an admission that key facts had been withheld from both the commission and investors. It was not just about bad press. The fine signaled something deeper, a system willing to pay to keep its secrets buried. The reckoning did not end in Nevada. That same year, the U.S. Department of Justice secured a $130 million forfeiture from Wynn Resorts, closing a decade-long probe into illegal foreign patron transactions. The Department of Justice agreement referenced systemic compliance failures, but every detail of the investigation remained shrouded behind the Nevada Gaming Control Board seal. 10 years. That is how long the truth stays locked away by law. What is inside those files? Who decided what the public would never see? The next casino king rises in a city that still runs on silence, and every secret has a price. Who holds the key when the clock runs out? In Las Vegas, secrets aren't erased, they're traded. Regulatory fines land, fortunes shift, but the real currency remains silence. Wynn's empire survives as a blueprint. Build high, bury deeper. Today, non-disclosure agreements still shield the past, and licensing boards still wrestle with shadows. The game behind the game isn't over, and every unanswered question keeps the odds stacked in favor of those who know how to play.